Jalal Sharafi, an Iranian diplomat in Iraq, says he was abducted while shopping in Baghdad last February. He also alleges he was tortured while in captivity by people who included CIA agents. They wanted to know about Iran's role in Iraq. He told Iran's official news agency, "Once they heard my response that Iran merely had official relations with the Iraqi government and officials, they intensified tortures and tortured me through different methods, days and nights." A claim denied by the White House. Washington says they had nothing to do with his abduction and welcomed his release. Jalal Sharafi was freed on April 3rd. The same day, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad announced the release of 15 British sailors. Tehran claims they had made the arrest when the British boats trespassed into Iranian waters. While the timing of the release has some thinking there was prisoner trade-off, British officials insist there was no deal, and this is echoed by Tehran as well.
There is no relation between the release of the sailors and other issues, and Mr. Sharafi's release has no relation as well.
There are still 5 Iranians held by American forces in Iraq. Iran says it still hasn't received any reply to its request to visit with the 5 it describes as diplomats. Ali Reza Ronaghi, Al-Jazeera, Tehran.
To Iraq now, and there's tightened security in the southern city of Najaf, where hundreds of thousands of Shiites are expected to demonstrate on Monday, marking the 4th anniversary of the US-led invasion. It all comes as at least 15 people died in a rocket attack in the south of the capital, Baghdad. Here's Imran Khan.
This is Mahmoudiyah, south of Baghdad. They're still pulling bodies out of the rubble here. So far, at least 15 dead. The devastation's immense. Burnt-out car wrecks and the shell of a building, the only remains from the missile strike.
I was sitting there. Suddenly, I didn't know what had fallen on us. A car, a rocket? I think it was a rocket. Many people were hit. You could see torn flesh.
Meanwhile, in Baghdad's southern city, no to America, they cry. These demonstrators have kept their message to the Americans simple and direct. The rally's been called by the Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr, the man the Americans now believe is hiding in Iran. But according to Saleh al-Akala, a Sadrist member of the Iraqi parliament, he's in Najaf. This march is all about the anniversary of Baghdad's fall. All over Sadr city, the flags fly high. The people show and speak of their loyalty to Muqtada al-Sadr.
They are all responding to a call by Commander Muqtada al-Sadr and a call by all decent Iraqis to set up a massive demonstration of 1 million people in the holy city of Najaf.
Al-Sadr has issued a statement calling for this symbolic event. Iraq has endured difficult years because of this oppressive occupation. The Americans have a reason to worry. For the last 3 days, violence has plagued the city of Diwaniyah, where multinational forces are battling with Shiite fighters to regain control of the city. One local braved the deserted streets to say that there were no fighters in the area.
These armed groups, we don't know them. They are not here. The Americans are killing innocent people.
Iraq is braced for more violence as the anniversary approaches. 4 years on, and the solution seems as far away as ever. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera.
And Monday, the 9th of April, will mark 4 years since the fall of Baghdad. We're marking that with a series of special reports and analysis. Join us as we examine how the promise of liberation and freedom quickly disintegrated into the chaos that has claimed up to 750,000 lives. That's the fall of Baghdad, an Al Jazeera special, starting at 8 GMT, Monday, the 9th of April. In Afghanistan, the Taliban says it's beheaded an Afghan translator kidnapped last month in the Helmand province. The reason? The Afghan government refused to release more rebel prisoners. An Italian journalist he was working with was freed on March the 19th, when 5 Taliban officials were released, but their driver was beheaded. James Bays has the latest.
The news of Ajmal's execution came in telephone calls to Al Jazeera and other news organizations. This video was filmed by the Taliban during the 5 weeks that the Afghan journalist was held in captivity. A spokesman for the Taliban's senior military commander in southern Afghanistan, Mullah Dadullah, said they'd offered to negotiate with the Afghan government, but that time had now run out. Ajmal had been working as a translator for the Italian journalist Daniele Mastrogiacomo. They were captured together, but the Italian was released after a deal was done. He was exchanged for Taliban prisoners, including Mullah Dadullah's own brother. Only 3 days ago, Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai said that deal was done because the Italian government faced collapse. He said it wouldn't be repeated. The Taliban are holding a number of other hostages. 5 Afghan medical staff have been threatened with execution. 2 French aid workers and their 3 Afghan colleagues who went missing last week are also believed to be in their custody. There's likely to be considerable anger here that an Afghan reporter has been executed after negotiations were ruled out, when only a few weeks ago an Italian journalist walked free and a deal was done. James Bays, Al Jazeera, Kabul.
A senior US diplomat visiting Somalia has urged the transitional government there to open up the political process and maintain the fragile ceasefire. Jendayi Fraser is the first high-ranking US official to visit Somalia in more than 10 years. After her meeting with President Abdullahi Yusuf, Fraser was keen to stress the role of regional neighbours and warned that the country has become a terrorist haven.
I emphasize the need for working with the regional countries. It's been my experience that no insurgent group can survive except that it has support from its neighboring countries. Some outside financing, some outside equipping, training, and arming.
Meanwhile, the African Union is supporting Sudan's rejection of United Nations peacekeepers being deployed in the war-torn Darfur region. The AU chairman, Alpha Omar Konare, made the announcement after meeting Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Last November, Bashir's government appeared to agree to a hybrid force, with UN peacekeepers reinforcing poorly equipped AU troops. But despite continued violence, Sudan insists 7,000 African troops is enough.
Our understanding of the hybrid force is very clear. The contribution from the United Nations shall be in the areas of administration, logistics and technical aspects.
Well, earlier on, Dapo Oyewole, the executive director of the Centre for African Policy and Peace Strategy, told Al Jazeera he thinks the African Union's taking a pragmatic approach.
UN peacekeepers cannot be deployed in Sudan without the clear agreement of the government of Sudan. Anything different from that itself can be seen as a form of aggression, and in that scenario, the UN forces in Sudan will be otherwise legitimate targets, and the militia, the Janjaweed militia themselves, have come out to say that there are UN peacekeeping troops in Sudan, that there will be a fair game to be attacked. So that is the first challenge. The second issue really is that the African Union must keep its communication channels and its ability to influence the government of Sudan open. Therefore, they're between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. They would ordinarily like to see the UN peacekeeping troops in Sudan because they know that is the only way in which we can be able to ensure that there's peace and stability in that region. But if they are to stand against the government of Sudan in this instance, then nothing at all will be done, and would only count the cost of that in the lives of ordinary civilians. So that really is the deadlock that we need to unravel.
In Lebanon, the leader of Hezbollah has denied allegations of arms smuggling and has accused pro-government supporters of trying to take control of the army. His claims come a day after a senior Lebanese politician accused Lebanese security agents of helping Hezbollah to bring weapons across the border. Here's Zaina Khoda.
375 kilometers of mainly rugged mountains separate Lebanon from Syria. In most areas, there are no fences or markings. Border control is a role traditionally reserved for the Lebanese customs. For the past 7 months, the Lebanese army has been mandated to carry out the job as well. UN Resolution 1701, which put an end to the summer war with Israel, prevents arms from reaching non-state actors, particularly Hezbollah. The army has reinforced its troops and stepped up patrols in the area. The government, which is locked in a bitter dispute with Hezbollah, says it is trying to improve its monitoring capabilities.